What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Weekly Cheddar. Jake Shavink here with you guys. New day. It's a Wednesday that we're putting on the show, which is a little change of pace, do a little curveball this week. But that's because it's Combine Week, and I think that we're likely going to have reaction shows every day once the Combine finishes. So that's something to look forward to as well. Today, I figured we'd kind of go through a little bit of a preview. Talked about it a little bit on the pod for the Packernet listeners, but it's we're mostly going to talk about some risers at Packer specific positions, but we can obviously talk about other things as well. We're going to leave the kind of the Q&A open, of course, as we always do here. Other than that, we'll probably do a mock draft, kind of wrap the show up in a bit, but we'll start, with kind of the combine and some previews and also talk about Gutey's comments as well, because I see Mitch drop something in here. But Peter Stone is here. Hello, Peter. How we doing? So Jake, out of all the players in the combine, which do you think will show out and surprise everyone and raise their draft stock the most? It's a good question. I think there's a lot of major players. I think a lot of people should be expecting the Penn State guys to be, lights out. Both of the edge rushers, Chop Robinson and Adisa Isaac. I don't think anybody's going to be surprised there. I think the three that jump out immediately are Isaac Guerendo from Louisville, the running back, former Badger. Some may remember him in the Wisconsin circles, but I think he's going to be, I think around the low 4.4s and the 40. I think he's just going to probably look tremendous in most of what he's going to do this weekend. So I expect him to take a big jump, at least in the media's eyes. I'm sure NFL teams are already well aware and probably are expecting Guerendo to test really well. Other than him, yeah, I think Jalen Ford from Texas, the linebacker, is another one worth mentioning as one of the big, like, quote unquote risers. I think we'll see it in the media more so than anything else. Other than that, it's possible that we see someone like Keaton Oladapo from Oregon State jump well, run well enough, and he kind of elevates himself in the safety conversation. Trying to think who else, that probably we're going to talk about at some point tonight. That's not going to, but to try to pick a few to jump way off the radar and back in. Andrew Phillips had a nice Senior Bowl for Kentucky. That's another one at corner. There's some talk about expecting low 4.4s from him. He's big, he's physical, and that can kind of really complete his process with a nice combine there. Yeah, I would lean those guys. We're definitely going to obviously talk about a few others here over the next several minutes as well. Yeah. I saw this from Mitch. Yeah, it says Brian Gutekunst was trolling Jake today by saying he's opening to drafting a wide receiver. How about DeCorian Clark on day 3? That's not a bad idea. DeCorian Clark had about, very similar 2021, 2022 seasons. I think he had like 3 snaps in 2023, which is tough for him, but PFF liked the last 2 years from him, especially. He plays a bunch out wide, around 90% of his snaps. 14-ish yards per reception. I like that. I think he's, somebody that could be interesting there. I'm still not unconvinced that, Brian Thomas at 25, Keon Coleman at 41, like guys that Gutey would potentially consider. That feels very doable. But yeah, I'm excited to see if that happens. Because they could still swing on day 3. I think they have 11 picks at the moment. Seems like something that Gutey could do, just to do it. Like, best player available. You like a lot of receivers. They're not going to not scout receiver at all, right? Like that's they're going to be still on that. Anything can happen in the league, right? So yeah, maybe DeCorian Clark. Omer says hello. What's going on? Preston is back. Yes, he is. 6 years. Someone mentioned it earlier today, and I thought it was a really good point. It was somebody going like, how long does free agents, stick around for like 6 years? Extending past their potential original deal. Like that's not That's not very common. So that's cool that Preston is back. I think maybe softens the edge rusher need a little bit, the defensive end need, but I don't think a ton. Because I think you're still looking at the fact that if Gutey finds somebody he likes in this class who maybe can play multiple positions, is that a wink wink at Darius Robinson? Yes, of course it is. And go from there and say, okay, like this, this is a guy we're gonna have around for a long time, for this defensive line, and I still wouldn't rule it out. Sounds good, Omer. Hope to see you in the comments later for sure. I knew Peter was going to bring up Malik Mustafa. There's no way. I know Ian Cummings was did his film, I think earlier this week, and was really impressed. Thinks he might be a top 5 safety in the class. I think yeah. I don't see why not. I think there are always guys who kind of jump on the radar with really really good combines. Um, some as far as Mustafa goes, like guys like mention it with Garendo, mention it with Jalen Ford. Like those guys have good film, and so guys are going to bring come back to that with good testing. They're like, oh wow, that's impressive. And then there'll be guys who test out of their minds, and the film isn't good. And I remember very very well last year did a mock draft, and in the comments someone was like, would you consider Bryce Ford Wheaton at all? He had a tremendous combine, and I'm just like, no, because the film wasn't very good. Like, there are going to be those guys. There are going to be those guys every year. Every year, there's guys that are testing really, really well. The film isn't good, and it's like, track and field perhaps is the way to go. So, yeah, Peter, I do think Malik Mustafa could have a big combine. And he has to check out for Clark. Yes, the medical part of this process is going to be important for several guys. We'll get to that in a moment as well. Omer says he's going to draft a QB. Bet on it. I would agree. I think they need to. I think they need to draft a QB. I do not think their backup's good enough to come in and play, meaning Mr. Sean Clifford. So I'm good with that. Adam seems hyped about combine times. It's a great week. We're gonna have a lot of fun. As I said, reaction shows. I think we're gonna be pretty much set every evening after all the stuff is finished for the day. Yeah, Mark Zambito, hello, says, is there a QB late that you think Green Bay would be interested in? Well, if they like somebody like Clifford, which is interesting. I didn't expect them to like someone like Clifford. That could potentially open the door for a guy like Sam Hartman from Notre Dame. I would rather see them get Michael Pratt from Tulane. I don't know where he's going to end up going. Might be more of that third, fourth round range for a guy like Pratt. But I'd be willing to go that direction. I think that's the player I want as the backup in Green Bay right now. If I had the option to pick, that would be my guy right now. So yeah, that's what I would say, Mark. Yeah, I don't think he's a late round QB. I think he's a good mid round QB where you spend enough. That's a good enough resource to spend. It's backup QB is extremely important. You got to have a guy just in case who can come in and be able to kind of just steer the ship at least a little bit, right? And have help steering the ship. So Adam wants to see how all these big wide receivers run the 3-cone on Saturday. Yeah, that's going to be interesting. I think I'll throw it out there. 3-cone champion for wide receiver, to me, I think would be Jalen McMillan from Washington. I think Roman Wilson could be in that conversation as well. But I just McMillan, I think could far and away crush everybody in the 3-cone. So WM says, how much have they saved now via restructures of Smith and Gary? I believe it also was. I think it was Rashawn Gary. Yes, pretty sure. So I think it was what Preston's was around 2 point. What was it? 2.4. Now I got to find it. I got to make sure. If anybody's got the number, let me know. That's not. I wasn't. That's okay. It was a $2.4 million pay cut for Preston Smith. That's nice. Gary's was like what, 2 to 4 million, right? It was something like that, right? That's what it was. 4.78 for Gary. So yeah, so around 6-ish million, which is or 7 million, which is, it's not nothing. Not nothing. Is it? Is it around 9? It's around 9. Okay. That's good. Yeah, because I see everybody reporting that Gary frees up 4.78. So if Preston frees up more than his $2.4 million pay cut, nice. That'll play. That'll play. Um, so let's see here. So yes. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't think there were a lot of QBs left, right? Yeah, I think they only had that was their only draftable QB left potentially on the board. Maybe be a bit more proactive. But obviously that draft, I don't think there was as many names as this one where there's I think this draft there's more backup potential. So I think this is a nice point right here that they didn't have to spend money on a Joe Flacco to come back and play, right? So that's yeah. Mitch says if you're gonna swing at linebacker, Wilson is the guy. Assuming you mean Peyton Wilson, which yes, Peyton Wilson, to me at least, I think he can make the linebacker room a little more versatile, right? I think there's a chance Wilson could be the Sam and kind of be the Mike as well, and maybe you like him off the ball running as a will linebacker too. Yeah, I think Wilson's biggest hurdle he's going to have to clear is injury stuff this week. What are the doctors at the combine going to see from him for injuries? Obviously, he's 24 years old. Green Bay hasn't traditionally gone that route with a player that's 24 and had injuries, right? Devontae Wyatt was nearly 24, I believe. Obviously, he's a first round pick. So it's not that they haven't gone that route, but adding the injury quotient to it, and it could be a guy who's not on their board. I would like to have him though. I think Wilson is a good prospect at the linebacker position. I think a lot of the linebackers, unless Cooper's ready to roll and he tests really, really well, I don't know if we're going to see a lot of guys go very early. There might be maybe one in the top 50, right? There you go. Brian has some inside info right here. Green Bay has interest in Malik Mustafa. Sounds like the film room should be going up on the channel next week. Does that sound good? All right, we'll do that. Um, yeah, it's a good point by WM here. There was only a couple left for Green Bay to take. There's no doubt. Yeah, I think but we got to they're gonna have to. And Gutey has mentioned it. I think they're gonna have to upgrade there. And then it's nice that they had Clifford for a year and they didn't need him. But you never know year to year. So Mitch says Rattler in Green Bay would be fun. Yeah, a lot of arm talent there. Feels like another guy that's in that camp of like not an immediate starter, but a potential starter down the line where enough arm talent there, aggressive, but not too aggressive. I think he's kind of refined his game a lot better. I still think he has work to do at determining, where to go with the football against more disguised zone coverage. I think if there's any pre to post snap movement, I think he struggles seeing how the picture changes. But like in terms of arm talent and development and what you could get out of a player like Spencer Rattler, who apparently has matured as well, I wouldn't be mad at it either. What do you think of Carter Bradley? I actually thought that the Senior Bowl, it wasn't too bad. I had no expectations with a player like Carter Bradley when the Senior Bowl started. And so I was like, oh, well, we'll see. We will see what he's got. If he's got any juice playing QB. I wasn't like unimpressed or anything like that with him. I think relative to where my expectations were was 0. I think it was at the very least intriguing. He didn't look out of place with guys like Rattler and Milton and Pratt on his team. So yeah, Carter Bradley's another potential day 3 guy. There's no doubt. Jack Plummer's an interesting guess from Adam there as a day 3 QB. I would prefer Bradley. I think it sounds like Brian would as well, saying Plummer's okay. Bradley's interesting for sure. And there's not a lot of South Alabama tape in hand. So he'd be a good guide for me to scrounge around and see what we can find there. Yes. So Smitty, what's going on? thing is Peyton Wilson is a Steeler. That's fair. That's fair. You want Peyton Will it's interesting. Peyton Wilson, if you look at like because there's a lot of differing sites and differing mock draft simulators with Peyton Wilson, you'll see it be kind of all over the map. Peyton Wilson has moved way, way up PFF's board on the simulator. He's like in the late 20s, early 30s. So that's I don't know if they know anything or they're just ranking him that high, but like that's it's noteworthy. But Peyton Wilson, yeah, heck of a player. If Green Bay waits and waits and waits and waits at linebacker, I'm still in the camp of like there are guys like Cedric Gray, of course, but the Jalen Ford from Texas, who I think is gonna have a nice combine. Darius Muasau from UCLA. Brian turned me got me on to him from UCLA. So I think they're going to have options later in the draft. I don't think they necessarily have to force the issue. I know a lot of people are going to be pining for linebacker. A lot of people are going to be pining for running back. You don't have to be the first one to take him if you don't love the player. Like you do not have to be first. And I'm hoping Green Bay's not first at running back. Peter says, "Do you know when they reveal the heights and weights?" Yeah, that'll be tomorrow. Yeah, it should. Yeah, it's Adam put it right here. It should be early tomorrow. You should get pretty much everything from Charles Robinson will be the ones. Yeah, and you should be getting everything from the guys that day. I can't try to think of who's first tomorrow. Is it front seven? Yeah, I think D-line linebacker, which we don't want to get into all of that, right? We don't need to get into the position designations that they do down here. But yeah, that's and then that's a good one. Nathaniel Bookie Watson from Mississippi State's another pretty good player. There's going to be just a lot. You're going to have to kind of wade through the day 3 linebackers and try to find and just do your best to figure out who's going to be the best from the bunch. Because I think there will be starters in this linebacker class, even though it's not. It's pretty much on the lower end of positional, like of how you'd rank the positions in this draft, right? Like I think we already mentioned it, probably one in the top 50. So, but there will be starters. But Watson's another one. PFF's got him way, way down, which I think is kind of strange. So, yeah. But yes, yeah. So they'll have everything tomorrow. It'll be rolling out pretty quick. Yeah, like Adam said, Charles Robinson just sends and sends and sends them out. So yeah, it'll be great. I'm excited. I'm gonna be on the golf course tomorrow. Gonna be on the golf course tomorrow early, and then should be having that on for the afternoon when we get all the times and all that. So gonna be interesting with a lot of the edge rushers and the 3-cone times. So that'll be fun to watch. We'll get everybody's new favorite guy, Darius Robinson. Should be getting stuff from him. Tavondre Sweat's going to run tomorrow. I know Tavondre Sweat's got, high expectations for what he's talked about the 40. So that'll be exciting. Obviously, Johnny Newton is not participating in any of that, which stinks. But yeah, I think it'll be exciting, even with a couple guys opting out, which again, a lot of the top guys I kind of understand. We were kind of like looking like, okay, could we have this be more common? A couple of years ago, they were talking about like, the top prospects just say, forget about it. We're not going to run, and you're kind of getting that. So it is what it is. Yeah. Oh yes. Brian found Taylor Demerson against TCU. It's the good stuff. That is the good stuff. There's no doubt. Yeah. Watson, nice tackler. I think he does a lot well, and he's like 6'2", 244 pounds at linebacker. So big time at the position. So he's in that kind of mold to play potential Mike Sam linebacker. So yeah. Clayton, appreciate you. Everyone hitting that like button. After this, or you could have Clayton stream and my stream on at the same time. when he starts up in about 5 minutes or so. I don't know. Why can't the Steelers spend high at linebacker, Smitty? I don't. Doesn't seem like a bad idea. Seems like, I mean, you got Smitty. You guys got to be going JPJ at 20 if he's there. No, that's got to be it's got to be locked and loaded if he's available. You're gonna go. Is it going to be offensive line first two picks though? Is Andy Weidel going to be really in the ear all draft long? That's what I'm excited to see that for Pittsburgh. Yeah, Emilio, it's gonna be a good one tomorrow. Also, hope you're doing well, Emilio. It's we're playing Stream Song tomorrow, so that's it's gonna be fun. It's one of the best of the best apparently in Florida. Excited to see it. Gonna do a lot of uh, camera work and film work down there too, so that should be fun. Um, but yeah, it's a new background. It's unfortunately temporary, Emilio, because it's a vacation background. But yeah, I like it. I think it's cool. We'll see. Some people, it could be a divisive topic whether you like, Harry Potter or not. But yeah. So let's keep it rolling here. Mitch says, "Do you think the positions of running back, safety, and linebacker are devalued in part because the players generally don't have long careers positionally?" Yeah, You've definitely seen some of even the top linebackers kind of call it quits after about 8-9 years, right? Kuechly didn't last as long as we'd hoped. Patrick Willis didn't stay in the game as long as we'd hoped. Take a lot of punishment at the position, especially linebacker and running back. And safety, I think it's just safety is a difficult position to play. There are times where you have to wear many hats. There's a time where you have to be elite in one hat, and it's very difficult. And it's why usually you don't see the top safeties move around a lot because they're the top guys are valuable enough to command top dollar and are often needed with what the team X is running. It was kind of surprising to see Bates let go by the Bengals, and obviously he is kind of maybe the exception to the rule a little bit, where he's been just a dominant single high player, and that's maybe kind of what we're looking for a little bit um, in for this scheme. Maybe Green Bay's kind of looking for like, okay, can we find that single high stud that's instinctive, good ball skills, enough range, enough athleticism to make plays. And that's, they're going to be, maybe they're searching far and wide and they, maybe it'll end up being Darnell Savage that they bring back. It's always fun. But yeah, I think the best safeties are going to be valued a lot highly than just kind of like a baseline starter. So like a lot of the baseline starters, you can think of like, yeah, probably can find them a little bit later. I do think with as much quarters coverage that is played right now, I think it's more valuable than maybe it's presented, just because there's a lot of responsibility and knowing what to do when there's three receivers on your side versus two, and when do you have to kind of turn your attention, even as like a kind of a backside safety, to the strong side of the play. Where do what's your responsibility? There's a lot going on, and so like processing ability and just general reliability, I think matters on the back end, right? In this era of preventing explosive plays. So, I don't know if the league's on board with that necessarily. I remember Ben Solak writing about Kyle Hamilton a couple of years ago and how he should be valued a lot. I completely agreed with that. Hamilton was incredible, and is incredible. So yeah, but I do think running back and linebacker is tough because you take just a ton of punishment. So Adam says, "Can we have the Tavondre Sweat conversation? Don't see how he fits it all with Green Bay, either predictively or new defensive system wise. Want penetration? Yeah, it doesn't seem like Sweat's strength. Yeah, I mean, I just think he is, and Brian points this out. Well, he's way over the thresholds now that they, have they broken and strained the thresholds and kind of reamed in that tension of the thresholds at times? Yeah, absolutely. It just feels like we're getting a weigh-in number tomorrow, assumedly with Tavondre Sweat, and For me, I know there's like there was a 346 floating around out there. Seems more likely he's closer to 360 than that. I know Green Bay's gone 330 with TJ Slayton. That seemed more like a pick to be like, okay, this is the defense. If we're going to have five guys on the line, quote unquote, and we need him to be the nose tackle, sure. I assume in the 4-3 they could use that, but if they want somebody who's going to maybe shade one and do a few different things, maybe they think Kenny Clark's just going to be doing that. So, you know, I don't know. I'm torn because I think I understand wanting a player like that who can take on multiple blockers, but at the same time, I think there's guys that at 315 and 320 that should be able to handle some of the duties of a one tech of a shading one and being that kind of more nose tackle than trying to go way up there and find the next Vita Vea, which is not an easy task. So Steelers do have Miles Jack, yes they do, but they could always use help there at linebacker. That's fair, Peter. Yeah, I Clayton's is obviously starting. So yeah, bounce back and forth away should be fun. Yeah. Oh yeah, Mark. Sorry, I saw this comment and I meant to click on it. Yeah, L'Jarius Sneed is a tag. Um, Obviously, Chiefs give him the franchise tag, and sounds like they're letting him explore options for a trade. I don't know if I'd want to be paying top dollar necessarily with where Green Bay's cap situation currently sits. I would rather do it. I would rather trade for him than T. Higgins, obviously, which was floated out there, a couple days ago, which I thought was funny. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think he's going to have suitors with more cap space. Um, I'm sure that there will be contenders who go after him. Philly might go after him. Even though they've got their own thing to clean up. Detroit obviously has that need at corner, at outside corner that we tried to explain last year. And they ignored it. Could have had JPJ at 18, didn't want him. Didn't want Gonzalez. Hey, is what it is. It's fine by me. They missed out on all those guys. Works for me. If they want to not do it again, that's also fine. But yeah, I think there will be a lot of suitors. Could Green Bay be one of them? Maybe. I would rather see what we got in a Quinyon Mitchell per se, than a L'Jarius Sneed. But I get, floating that out there as a possibility. So Ian asks, how can the Bears ruin Caleb Williams since we know it's automatic? Well, if we know it's automatic, we should already know how. No, but I think the way that it happens is probably the way that Williams doesn't work out in the league is that he leans too heavily on the off script stuff. And at some point defenses, are going to work contain and find a way to kind of push the pocket internally to the point where he just doesn't have a lot of avenues. He needs to be able to continue to develop and play within rhythm, within structure of an offense. And I think if the way they ruin him, especially is if they don't have a good offensive line in front of him, right? That's another big part of the equation. I think you have to work to build a complete offense for any young quarterback, right? That should always be the goal. So the Caleb Williams faltering stuff to me is more about the on field. He plays a little bit like 12 plays where it's just kind of like, I like being in scramble mode. I like moving around and throwing it all over the yard in that regard, rather than, kind of working through a 3 player concept. And that stuff can get you in trouble. It got Rodgers in trouble for certain stretches of his career. And that's where that's the downfall for Caleb Williams if that happens. So sweat weigh in guess. Adam says guess sweats weigh in. I think it'll be like 358. That's my number. Yeah, 346 was in the spring. There you go. Over under 350. Give me over 350, says Adam. Yeah, I'm in that camp as well. I'm gonna go 358. That's my guess. Oh yeah, okay. WM says so trading away Devontae got us Quay and Watson. Yep. At least partially got us Watson. Yeah. It was crucial. Rogers got us Musgrave and to be determined at 41. Sewell gets us to be determined at 91. Gutey's doing, yeah, Gutey's, he's doing a nice job. I think it was fair to be critical and to wonder if he was uh, not the best GM, right? Probably after 2021, right? When that draft was kind of pushing through, and you go, okay, Stokes, it isn't working out with Stokes. As Myers kind of iffy. The trade up for Amari Rogers didn't work. So after 2021, I think there was a legitimate question about Gutey. I think he has found the stride. The scouting department has found their stride. I'm excited to see who it is at 41 and 91 for sure. 5 picks in the top, 91 is sick. And who knows? I think that a very real possibility Green Bay trades back from 25 and then moves up from 58, right? In something like that, where they'll have 3 second-round picks, and we we have to wait until until Friday to hear who's going to be the first Packer selected. So, um, is is Sweat related to Montez and Josh? No, I don't believe so. And Brian is confirming no relation there. It's not a matter of how Bears will ruin him; it will be when. Yeah, it's possible. I think someone pointed out that was really good to me was they're doing the same thing they did when they drafted Fields, right? It was kind of you know, they they're keeping the coach who has already just not figured it out, right? To this point, they're keeping the coach and then they're drafting the first QB after, basically, kind of gutting other parts of the staff and the roster. And so it's kind of like a cyclical move here 3 years later where Trubisky's out, Fields is in, and now Fields out, Caleb in. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Twitter might burn, but like if there's a chance, right? If you're the Packers and like the corners are gone and Darius Robinson's gone, and maybe you think Newbin, and maybe you have the intel Newbin's going to be going later than people are projecting, perhaps, and so then you start to get to a point where like, okay, best player available. We've got a lot of guys sitting here that we like. We'll move back, move up, you know, get ourselves picks like, I don't know, 34, 41 and like 48, right? And have 3 picks in the top 50, could be nice. Twitter might burn, but the ball knowers will love it. So, especially if they pick up like picks next year on day 2. That'd be kind of sick, right? Yeah, WM, I agree. I don't. Yeah, they continue to do this, and it's not working. It's almost like kind of Mike Daniels was talking about like for Green Bay's defense, it's just like they've changed personnel, they've changed coaches, they've changed head coaches. Like it continues to be a problem, and the defense just really just cannot figure it out. Chicago might be the same way, like offensively, right? Like they just cannot figure it out no matter what they do. So there you go. Yeah, why not have all 32 seconds somehow? That'd be kind of sick. I know where you're going with this, Brian. That was a good one. Okay, so really quick, as we're rolling through this kind of finishing of the finishing touch of the combine preview portion here. Um, couple of quick things. I mentioned Garendo already as like the running back who could take the massive step. I'm sure Jalen Wright's going to have a lot more fans next week than he does at the moment because we're going to get potentially a really nice 40 time. And obviously the GPS tracking already really likes him. He's clocked over 23 miles per hour. So I imagine he will be um, very popular name for Green Bay. Maybe even at like 58, it might get to that point in mock drafts after Jalen Wright runs. Wouldn't put it past the mock drafters for that. So yeah, I think the running backs are those two to watch. There's plenty more, of course. I mean, a lot of people are very excited to see what Blake Corum's going to do. I think Brian. He's 5'7" and an eighth, right? Because I saw an over under for him at 5'7". And I was really tempted to comment like I'm pretty sure he's 5'7" and an eighth, and it will be over. Um, yeah, there's excitement for Corum. Obviously, Trey Benson, that's what's going to be fun, right? He's a home run hitter at running back. Um, so okay, it is 5, 7, and 8. Nice. So there you go. If there's a if there are props out there for the combine and like one of them's over under on Corum's height at 5'7", take the over. You should be winning. There's another one. Estimate. Yeah. Like how good are the speed scores going to look at running back for a lot of these guys, a lot of the bigger guys, right? Braylon Allen, right? The same thing. So yeah. Oh, it's 3/8. 5, 7, and 3/8. Well, there you go. Even better clearing the over under 5, 7. Yeah, I don't think it's 40 time as much as speed score. I think is interesting to look at for running backs, but really for running backs, it just seems like can you make people miss on your own? Do you have a good processing skill set between the tackles, and are you instinctual and reactive to things breaking down between the tackles and in space? Like, can you create is a big part of playing it, not necessarily just being fast. Um, so there's a lot going on with that, but I also think like the fundamental part of pass blocking, like when guys are coming out in the draft and they can already basically prove to you that they good pass blockers, like that's a really nice baseline of you know can this guy play right away? Like guys who did that last year, Roshan Johnson was insanely good at the Senior Bowl with pass blocking stuff, and Ty J Spears was really good at it too. Ty J Spears, they had him coming out there, week one, not getting a lot of snaps, but he's out there week one pass blocking against the Saints defensive front and their front seven with blitzing linebackers in a game they had a chance to win already. Like that is something else when you have a rookie coming in that quickly. Balance and vision are obviously two, I think, big parts of creation, right? Can you create in certain scenarios when you're presented with conflict? Conflict being, you know, defenders leverage to the outside. Can I find a backside cutting lane? Right? Am I one on one? Am I just tasked to win? How can I win? Can I win with the lateral quicks? Right? Can I win with an explosive cut or two, like to get past somebody, or can I prove that I can drop the pads well at contact? Have a really good center of gravity once you're being presented with contact to get through it. There's so much I think that you could boil it down to creation basically, and for yourself through contact in space. So a lot of that, and I think vision is somewhat. I think vision is kind of always when you look at like scouting reports. Vision, the guys just say he's got good vision. They slap the tag on them, and I feel like that just always gets like slapped on everybody's scouting report. It's like good vision for a running back, good patience for a running back, as if like what's patience mean though? Right? Is he patient in terms of like, okay, like impatient in terms of like gap scheme where he's like, all right, I'm staying behind this pulling guard and I'm, keeping away from like defenders finding me back there. Am I patient in the way I step laterally, right? To kind of let blocks set up, right? Am I patient in my ability to kind of wait for an outside lane and duo to open up, like because I'm pressing the line of scrimmage, right? A la Blake Corum. Um, but yeah, I think vision is something. Vision and patience are just thrown out there without a lot of like in detailed looks at what those are. So somebody said something up here, I thought. Yeah. WM said, I think Gutey will want that 5th-year option with the first, unless someone offers him a haul to move back. Yeah, if it's a younger player, or like say it's a Byron Murphy from Texas, where he's like 20 years old, 21 years old, and you want that 5th year, sure, absolutely. But also like, it's also cheaper, move back 7 spots, and get that guy for a little bit cheaper as well. So it is what it is. The first round pick, trade out or stay and pick. I won't be mad either way. Um, that's a good ability to have for sure. It's not necessarily one that's a primary one, Adam, but I like it. Brian's already tossing out his day 3 sleepers for Jordan Waters. So there you go. WM says he might double up, meaning Gutey, on safety and running back, grab a high end running back at the top 100, and then one in the later rounds, find a Pacheco, Keaton Mitchell. I think you just find two Pacheco, Keaton Mitchells, to be honest. That's what I'd rather do that. I would rather get a Garendo from Louisville and a Rasheen Ali from Marshall, or maybe a Carson Steele, right? I'd rather go that route than being one of the first to take a running back in this class, because I think I think I might be on an island with a take for one of the running backs, and that's fine. I'll be on the island with the take. Um, I think just some of the top guys could easily get passed by some of the guys drafted on day 3, because I think might be overinflating a few of the top guys, quote unquote top guys in the draft at running back right now. So, but I have no doubling up at safety should be a requirement for Gutey to leave the draft with multiple safeties. If he doesn't, we're going to be sitting here frustrated again. I feel like we've been frustrated for years that Gutey has not addressed safety. So Gutey likes to double up. Yes, he is very prone to doubling up at positions. So Adam asks, does Gutey draft more safeties, linebackers, or corners with his 11 picks? It's a good question. I mean, if it were me, it'd be safety, probably. Um, Boy, you think he's gonna draft? So it's like Adam, you think he might draft like 3 linebackers? Because that's, I mean, the most. If you're gonna say the most of the 3, I think like safety's probably gonna be 2 at least. Corner could easily be 2 if he finds a slot corner that he likes a lot. Like, you're telling me linebacker might be 3? Wow. 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 I mean, maybe, maybe. I would say I'm gonna lean safety. I think I lean safety, but I understand linebacker, especially if like Green Bay's kind of out on bringing bringing Wilson, not bringing Wilson back, and maybe they're cutting Campbell, and that like opens the door up for more linebackers. But man, like that would be a lot. They need 6 linebackers. We need 6. That's a lot. We need 6. Yeah, last year's safeties weren't the best. No, not great, not ideal. But 2022 safeties were pretty decent, especially at the top. And there was didn't seem like there was any attempt made to go after that. So, uh, yeah, I think I could see 2 linebackers as well. Oh, 6 linebackers for the roster. I see. Yeah, that's possible. It's just a wonder. I don't like to mention this, but like it keeps coming up. Like, would they view Preston as the Sam linebacker? Like, would they view him as that? And then it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I get I get what we're saying now. 6 total on the roster. Yeah. To me, I think that just means then I think if you draft 2 linebackers, I think you're getting a third as a UDFA, rather than um, drafting 3. That would be my guess. I I imagine none of the 3, truthfully, if we're on board with 2 linebackers, then that none of the 3 end up being more than, I mean, maybe corners like the least of the 3 between safety, linebacker, of like total picks at each position. But I'm not sure then if we're believing that they're going to draft multiple linebackers, that we get a single position kind of leading the way. That would be kind of sick. 3 UDFA linebackers would be pretty sick. Tiago says, "Is Jalen Wright the new or the next Aaron Jones?" It's possible. I mean, I think he's obviously faster, right, than Aaron Jones. Um, I think that I would say no. I don't think they're quite the same. Tiago, I think. Oh, okay. Tiago says, "What is the running back that's most similar to Aaron Jones in the draft?" Probably Jonathan Brooks, honestly. It feels like they're the same type of player where it's like, okay, it's not they're not there's not a lot of, they're not, electric in terms of like straight line speed, right? They're not like 70-yard touchdown merchants, right? That's not the player they are. They're like, consistently good at churning out 6, 7 yards a carry and like, catching the football out of the backfield, right? Like I think Brooks does a nice job in pass pro, especially where like these guys can be really good in zone, right? Again, with zone blocking and understanding what spots to pick, when to bounce runs out. I think probably Brooks is the most similar, just as a smooth runner, good balance, flexible, right? Exceptionally quick and with the footwork at times when necessary. That feels like I think the most comparable player to me would probably be Brooks from Texas. So, without further ado, should we get into a mock draft now? Mock draft simulator is ready and waiting. Um, so yeah. Um, we'll get into a mock it shortly. A few more questions I see here. Mitch says he wants to see QB hand sizes. I think Packers really put emphasis on this. Do you think they do that at other positions? It's possible, right? You could look at hand size for offensive linemen, right? Defensive linemen, like how big are your hands to be able to hold on with like good grip strength? I think that's possible. Obviously, grip strength comes into play with running backs catching the football in the backfield, obviously receivers catching the ball, tight ends. So I mean, it's very possible, right? Linebackers to be able to shed blocks. I think there's definitely a lot of like, positions that could put an emphasis on that. There's no doubt. Do I think they do it at other positions? Maybe. I'm not sure, but I understand why you could potentially do it. Brian, is this a question or is this your I'm gonna put this out there, Brian, on Twitter right now. Brian Murphy thinks Dijon Edwards is Brian Westbrook. That's the comp. All right. Brian, I'm putting this on Twitter. Right after the show, Brian, I'm putting this on Twitter. All right. Yeah, we'll get into the mock draft here for sure. Yeah, I think hand size for QB. I mean, there's a reason teams do it, right? Is it a little silly sometimes? Sure. Um, but I get it that like you believe that the bigger hands you'll be able to hold on the football and all the elements and all that. I still think guys like Jordan Love, who have obviously bigger hands, they're still going to have the ball slip out sometimes. But no, it's not a. I don't see the Brian. I'm choosing to ignore the question mark. We're gonna put that on. We're gonna put that out there for the people. We're gonna put that out there for the people. Oh, is you heard it? Oh, Brian, you should have stamped that. Stamp that in. You should stamp that comp for good. That's interesting. I maybe. I don't remember watching Westbrook play that much though. So I'm too young. Not really, but like I would have to go watch like guys from the 2000s to comp them to the guys from the 2000s. That's a lot tougher for me to do. Um, Mark Sawyer, hello, says which position will be most affected by combine shuttle cone numbers? I mean, all of them are shuttling 3 cones, so agility, which is most affected by that. I mean, I know that there's obviously, people have floated out there that's just short shuttle for offensive linemen. If your short shuttle's under a certain number, it usually means that you're pretty good. Um, it's like a 4.48 or something, I think. If it's under that, I think it's something like that. But like I think shuttle and cone numbers, you get O line and you get like edge rusher, I think are big ones overall. Um, Usually you're going to see, I mean, you're going to see a lot of good athletes out there every year, right? And so, it's for probably like, you know, if we want to kind of put a bow on the combine talk, like you'll see their athleticism thresholds are important, like to look at, right? You see a lot of the best be tremendous athletes, but obviously a lot of the best of the best football players are great athletes. Like that's the name of the game in a lot of respects. But yeah, most people are putting O-line for that. But I do think there are trends. There are trends from this week. The biggest one is tight end. If you don't test well as a tight end, it might be it. It might be GG's. Uh, you just see pretty much a lot of the best tight ends are good athlete are the best of the best athletes because it's harder to win against super athletic linebackers or super athletic safeties, right? And to to kind of be able to turn short intermediate yardage into big yardage. You have to be able to run away from guys. You have to make guys miss. Like there's so much that goes into tight end. And I know this really isn't the question mark, but it's like this is stuff to glean from the week. Like usually tight ends, if you're a great athlete, you have a better chance. Um, but yeah, it seems like I think O-line, edge rusher's a good one, but those are probably the two that are most affected by like the 3-cone and then the short shuttle. All right, should we get into a mock? Let's get into a mock, huh? Let's do that. Let's do that. Share. Okay. Hopefully, everybody can see this well. If not, should we try this? That's a little bigger. There we go. All righty. Packers mock draft time, people. Okay. That should be a bigger screen for everybody to see. All right. Well, we're gonna roll this unless does anybody want, let's put it this way. Yeah, drafting athletic tight ends, big deal. It's important. Does anybody want to slow this down? Should we think we slow it down at all for potential trade up scenarios, or should we just let it go? What do we think? Should we just do we want to even consider trading up from 25? Brian wants it on fast. Yeah, we'll put it on fast once we get past the first, but I want to see if anybody's itching to trade up at all. If not, no biggie. We'll let it run. I'm not hearing anything. I'm not seeing anything yet. So yeah, yes. Mark Sawyer knows what to say in here. Mark Sawyer knows what's up in this on this channel. Mark knows what's going on. All right, so Mark, we may have to move up to 4 to get neighbors. It just depends on what the Patriots do. It just depends on what the Patriots do, you know? Mark, I'm going to make this mock draft for sure at some point. Maybe I'll post it on YouTube and we'll see what the comments are. All right, Janelle Hello says no from 25. Go one at a time, see if no one says anything. Okay. Adam says he's still in the dark in terms of testing without testing. I get that. I understand that. But Mark, just for you, we're going to put this together. We're going to put a Malik Neighbors trade up draft together for sure. We'll do it. Not today, but potentially right here. The last, oh my gosh, Brock Bowers goes 3rd. So see how Malik Neighbors goes 5. PFF loves, wow, 3 corners in the top 9. That's tough. You do not like to see that. Verse goes Wiggins. Man, it's just like Kool-Aid goes 19th. This is the ultimate struggle right here. Where do you go? Right? Why is Jaden Daniels available? This has been PFF has had this problem recently. PFF has had this problem. I don't get it. And there you go. Peyton Wilson is 28th on PFF's big board. That's wild. Some wild stuff there. But yeah, PFF has had this problem recently. No idea why. Where Daniels is available, I don't understand. I don't understand why that is the case. Why a third QB does not come off the board earlier, but that's tough. Chargers at 37 want to move up. Vegas, New Orleans. We could try it. Tiago asks, is PFF accurate? First year watching mock drafts. I mean, I think with their simulator, they usually do a really good job of like getting like positional value off the board earlier, and they have a setting for that. but like I think every simulator, Tiago's gonna have their own flavor of their own rankings. So like you're gonna see rankings that are gonna be, you know, guys like I think Cooper Beebe is a really good example. Like if you look at like mock draft database, which compiles mock drafts and big boards and all that and sets the board, like you'll see him in the 60s. PFF has him at 141. So like there's rankings that change and are all over the place. And so that's a difficult part of all this is people are going to put their own rankings into these simulators. And so that often drives stuff because if you look up here, I think this is a great example. Right, like Cooper DeJean is really high on their on PFF's board, like 7th or 8th, and he's always a top 10 pick. So when you're in the PFF simulator, it's always hard to get Cooper DeJean now because he's up there so high. But yeah, this is yeah, very high for Peyton Wilson. I'm very surprised about that. So there you go. Peter Stone would like to trade back. Mitch wants to trade down because someone wants Daniels. I could see if the Patriots are interested. Yeah, this is true. Yeah, it is just his rankings. So everybody's going to put their own kind of swing on the rankings for a lot of the simulators, PFN. So, um, let's see. Uh, Lee, what's going on? It says, "Am I on to anything here?" Green Bay selects guys. Front office included have great hair. That's we might need to look into that. We need pictures, man. We need pictures. All right, Chad. Do you want me to just make the pick? Do we want to, you know, consult with each other about what we're doing here? Um, do we want to see if we can trade down to like New England spot? I'm willing to listen. I didn't really decide on how we were going to do this mock, but kind of winging it. There's always more time in the uh, in the first round, so we got a little bit of time to make this pick, right? Janelle says Barton or Rakestraw. Not mad at that. I'd be fine with either of those. Obviously, Tyler Newman's here at 27. Probably not going to be able to pick him uh, after this. What would the Pats offer? I'm going to have to make an offer from them because right now the team that wants to trade up, that's the highest in the order, is the Chargers. Obviously, you're looking at Raiders and Saints as well that are interested. So that's probably for a QB. That could be a lot of return. I'm going to see if I can do New England. I don't know what they're going to want here. They're not interested at all. All right. I just want to see, what are the Chargers willing to give me? I'm automatically taking another 2 from you. Chargers. So 23% chance. It's tough. 50-50. 50-50 if we want to get a 2 next year right here to move down 12 spots and pick up 183 in the process. It looks like it's probably just stick and pick. Unless everybody's in agreement here wanting to do that. But I'm fine. Let's do that. Let's go Barton or Rakestraw. What do we want to do? Barton or Rakestraw? The Pats. I think the Pats would have to offer probably a day 2 pick next year, and their pick. You want to do Jordan Morgan, Brian? Brian, do you see Jordan Morgan as an interior guy? Jarrell, what's going on? How you doing? Says if we can draft Kalen Bullock and Tyrion Arnold, I'm happy. Jarrell, I got bad news, man. I got bad news. Tyrion Arnold went 9th to Chicago, so it's doubly bad. Didn't get Tyrion Arnold, and he went to Chicago in the process, so it's tough. Yeah, okay. I figured so. Yeah, I figured so. It just feels like that's going to be more natural for him there. Okay, we got 1 Barton, 1 Peyton Wilson, and 2 Rakestraw. All right. I guess we're gonna do that unless there's any last minute voting. Let's do Rakestraw. Let's grab the corner here and see how it goes. I'll start making this go faster. But Newman, Peyton Wilson, Jade Daniels. There goes Barton to Baltimore, of course. Braswell, Coleman, McCarthy, Isaac, Lassiter, Mitchell, Bo Nix, and then TJ Tampa. All right. Get the alien edge. I think we're going to be able to do that right here. Right here, Adam, if we want to do Missouri. Trade for a 2 and a 5. A 2 and a 5. That would have been good. Obviously, you can trade down here to Cleveland wants somebody bad. But I think there's a lot of players available here for Green Bay. So, yeah, okay. So there were 3 votes for Rakestraw, so that was good. We got Rakestraw. Second round, there's a lot of players available. Tyler Guyton, who I think you would call him slightly bigger than what Green Bay has traditionally done at the position at 6'7", 328. So you can go that route. Jordan Morgan's obviously here. Jordan Morgan was well in line with what Green Bay does at the position. He's like 6'4", 6'5", somewhere around there, and then like 312. That's traditionally how they look at offensive linemen. Jatavian Sanders is here. You know, young player at tight end. Could be the move tight end. Could be an H-back, maybe. I don't know. Could get fun with that. Obviously, Chop Robinson's available. I think Chop Robinson's going to be, if he played in Green Bay, to me, Chop Robinson's a Sam linebacker in Green Bay. Because I think he can drop the coverage a little bit if you want him to. I don't think he's going to play defensive end at what he's going to weigh in at. But here's a defensive end. You want a defensive end in Green Bay? Darius Robinson is the guy right here. So, that's possible. Kingsley Suamataia is in the same kind of camp as Tyler Guyton. You would think. So PFF had him listed 6'6", 315. He came in at I think above 330. So that's, interesting. If you go down further, there's a couple safeties here, but I think we stick with kind of what's here. There's 3 I would say there's 2 tackles. I would say Jordan Morgan's probably a guard. You get Jatavian Sanders. If you want to look at safety, we can, but Cam Kinch is hovering around way down here. So could chill there. I mean, I think I'm leaning Darius Robinson for the defensive line here. Tiago wants to draft a linebacker. Tiago, I think we're gonna have a lot of opportunity to draft linebacker here late, truthfully. Yeah, I think Adam, we're gonna have the chance. I think one of the Robinsons feels like a really good direction to go here. Janelle likes Darius. Mitch likes Kingsley. Under 33-inch arms for Morgan. It's not ideal. Do we want a legit tackle or not interior offensive lineman? I think we look interior offensive lineman. Darius Robinson, do I think he's lighter than 286 tomorrow? Yeah, I'm with Brian. I hope not. I think if he is, I mean, what? It's gonna be like 284, 285. Like I don't think we're gonna see anything drastic. So 6'5", 286 playing defensive end. And maybe kicking inside to play defensive tackle at times, I think that's the move personally. I know there's some talk about, couple of guys mentioned Kingsley there, but I do think Robinson's a really good one. So, okay. Tiago, Edrin Cooper. Yeah. Cooper's lingering down here a little bit. Tiago, he's here. He's here. He's at 49th on the board. Possibly pushes down to 58 or 57. It's 57 on this, but I'm pretty sure it's 58 in real life. That's also weird. Okay, Mitch could go Robinson. It seems like the consensus is on Robinson, and I'm very happy to go that direction. I think there's offensive line to be had, and I think we'll get there. So let's go with Darius Robinson here. Oh, okay. Are we on board with this? We on board with this? Goodness sakes. Oh man. Adam, yeah, pause indeed. Pause indeed. So Janelle says trade up to 50 and get Edgerrin Cooper. If we want to do that, we could do that. You want to all right, let's put this on slow. Let's draft Darius Robinson because he's a consensus. Let's see how the first few picks go here. We've got it on slow. We'll see what happens here. Penix, Jatavian, Kingsley. Okay. We're at Joan Ellis. We're at 48. Cooper is still available. I don't think they're going to move Edgerrin to edge at 227 pounds. But could be the weak side linebacker in coverage. All right. So Cooper's still available. How much higher are you on edge over Gray? I don't think enough to where the gap here, I think, is what's interesting, right? I think PFF has Gray in like the 160s and they got Cooper at 49th. I don't think the gap's that big, personally. And yes, do I, oh, I got you. Nice. I like that. Okay. Quality joke. Good one from WM there. But yeah, I don't think the gap's that big, personally. I'm fine with letting it go because I do think linebacker has plenty of options later. So we do have interior offensive line. That's a good point by Mark here to think about as well. Brian's in. I got like Junior Colson. Nice. Good to hear. WM bringing the comedic relief right now to the draft room where it's very tense right now. We got to get this right, of course. So but yeah, I think there is one guy right in interior offensive line that we could make a little bit of a move up here if we wanted to. And that would be like Christian Haynes. Is that somebody we feel like moving up for? So Mitch says, wait, I'm waiting at 48. I can wait. Here, Cooper Beebe's way down the list. Is he a fit in Green Bay? That's the question, right? He's played 4 positions at a very high level. I'm just not sure if I think he's a really good player. The zone fit to me is maybe the biggest question. But Haynes, yeah, there isn't a lot of Mark, to be fair, there's not a lot of Connecticut offense rolling around there. YouTube might have a few games if possible. Yeah, there's not a lot out there on him at the moment. So let's see. I'm gonna push myself down a little further. Okay. So we could make a move up for Haynes. Let's take it down to a couple more picks. Okay. So Chop and Chris Jenkins are off the board. I mean, might be able to wait for this thing. Might be able to wait for this. Yeah. I dig this from Brian here. I think it's just a question if we want to make that move. There are other guards for sure that could fit, but if we want to make a move to trade up, we got to do it now. Because I do think the Rams, who I believe they picked Kool-Aid, might be the team that might have to jump them and Miami. All right. I'm seeing sit on our pick. We'll sit. We'll wait. Bullard. There goes Cooper. And Kieran. That's interesting. Okay, so what that tells me is our guy is here. Our guy is available, folks. Look at that man. Look at that man in zone, according to PFF. 89. Look at that, man. He's excellent. He's here. So, turns out it worked. I'm going to move this up to fast now so we can get through the picks. But we've got the 2 Missouri Cats so far. Ennis Rakestraw and Darius Robinson. So, I think it's time. Brian, here's the question. Here's the question. Is he tall enough? Is he tall enough? Is he tall enough to be a Packer? I think he's like 6'2.5", you know. Is that big enough? Or is he playing center? Hmm. So yeah, there's a lot of good stuff here. Um, you think so? All right. That's good to hear, Brian. I like that. Mitch, Jaden Hicks, maybe. Yeah, I remember Brugler had him mocked to Green Bay, I think at 41 in one of his 2-round mocks recently. Uh, he's probably going to be the box guy. I know his coverage grade's really good, but to me, it feels like he is more of in the hole type of coverage. Um, I don't love the consistency here. I guess he played well against Washington. Um, I just not sure where to see him because I think Jaden Hicks is, I think, somebody that Packers fans, we should all be paying attention to what the testing is going to look like for Jaden Hicks. I think that's a big part of that for sure. Um, what's going on? Good to see you. It says would trade back to the top of the second round, take Cooper first. Tavondre at 41. Wow. Yeah, I know. I know you're a big Tavondre Sweat guy for sure. Um, yes, Mark Sawyer Pooney is still available. He is. Yes, he is. He's at like 108 on PFF's board here. So, or both. We could, well, yeah, trade back to see what we can get. There's no trade offers currently, unfortunately, Peter. So we'll have to kind of stick and pick at this spot. Um, but Hicks could be the hammer. I do like Keaton Oladapo, another guy who might be able to kind of step in and be that hammer as well, and has improved in coverage a lot. Looked pretty smooth in coverage at the Senior Bowl. Janelle likes Sainer still as a slot corner. I think pretty much if you talk to a lot of people, I think a lot of people would agree that they like Sainer still as a slot corner. I think it's just he's probably not in the thresholds in terms of what Green Bay wants for size at corner, right? You look at him in the low 180s there. Um, Even Keyshawn Nixon, who the Packers have played obviously at nickel for a while, is 200 pounds. Like it seems like they want the size at the position. So, as well as, kind of being saying, there you go, too short. I think they want more size at the position because I think Keyshawn's like at least 5'10". So Sainer still's more in that like 5'8", 180 range. And just fireball, love him, good player. Will Green Bay, push the thresholds, even break them for him? Linebacker? I'll take a look at linebacker for you, Peter, really quick. But I think we're pretty sold on who we're picking. There's a lot of linebackers still available. I know it feels like at this point, I think for a lot of people, maybe not as moved by the Notre Dame guys, maybe not as moved by Barrett, maybe not as moved by Eichenberg, right? But if you peer down here a little bit, this is where I think that the class really starts to take shape, starting with Gray here, Jalen Ford, Darius Muasau, Traven Wallace, and then if you look even further, our guy Nathaniel Watson way down here. So Mark Sawyer says, can Kieran Amagaji play inside? Uh, maybe, but he's got a ton of length on him. He feels like the more mauling type, maybe even more of a gap type as a tackle, where he can really attack as a run blocker. But another fast improving player. So yeah, I think I would prefer him at tackle, but I don't think it's impossible that he could play guard. Um, yeah, yeah. Traven Wallace, another one. Good call by Janelle here. Traven Wallace, another one where he's as big from Kentucky, 244, like Nathaniel Watson is, and I think him and Phillips are both Kentucky guys. Could have a really nice week down here. So yeah, I think Jaden Hicks is interesting, but let's get this rolling. Let's take Christian Haynes here. We're gonna let this thing run out. Um, we're gonna go fast. I know there was some talk about safety. we could take Hopper and go all Missouri. That's true. That is true. Yeah, I understand wanting to go safety there. Hicks, Bullard. Bullard's another one. It's a good player. I think they're gonna have opportunities here, and I think one of them is sitting here if we want them. Truthfully, I think you've got a few guys, and I know Peter's going to be pining for Malik Mustafa as well. Maybe he's the box guy you want to go get, right? And maybe Adrian Taylor Demerson is the guy in coverage that you want to go get in terms of your single high player, right? So far, Ennis Rakestraw, corner Missouri, Darius Robinson, defensive end, Missouri, and Christian Haynes, guard from Connecticut. So those are the three picks to this point. I mean, I'm fine with doing this if everybody's on board with Jalen Wright. I'm on board with it. So I like this. All right, so let's see. Mason McCormick. Mason McCormick's big, yeah. I think he could fit really nicely as a guard as well if we wanted to double up at guard after Haynes. Yeah, I'm down with Demerson and Mustafa. I think you can get Mustafa at pick 126 potentially. Braid is also still there. Bullock is off the board. So I think this is where everybody's going to want to go. I think Jalen Wright feels like a good idea. We could go Dadrian Taylor Demerson to get some center field help at safety at 91, and that could kind of be what the third round looks like. Here's Joy. What's going on? Oh, I'm going to sneeze, chat. It's this big light in front of me. So let's see. First few picks were Ennis Rakestraw, corner, Missouri, Darius Robinson, defensive end, Missouri, and Christian Haynes, guard from Connecticut. Those were our first three. So that's true. No, I do think this is a good point by Brian right here. I think that if we're going to go O-line again, at this point, I think we've got our strictly interior player in Christian Haynes. I think now is the time where it's okay, find, a guy with tackle experience, maybe who could kick inside, right? And then you have that type of versatility, which there are still guys here available. How durable would Wright be? That's a tough question. That's a tough question. He feels like he runs a little more upright than some of the others in the class, but it's always hard to say. So you get a guy like Pacheco who is, obviously a bowling ball, but also like has clearly worked on leg flexibility and how to land because he's avoided some major injuries. So it's just, part of it is continuing to train yourself to find longevity in the league. So yeah. Yeah, I get not loving the Rakestraw thing in the first. I know Barton was there, Newman was there. So it seems like everybody's in on Wright. Yeah, there's no running back at this point. So, all right, let's take Jalen Wright. Let's keep rolling. We'll go running back early. Not my favorite thing to do. Patrick Paul and Cedric Van Pran are the two picks in between Green Bay's third round picks. So there are some options at the top of the board. I like to go a little bit further down. Couple things. I know we've already gone running back. Andrew Phillips, probably going to be a really nice tester. PFF didn't really like him. I know there's obviously a big hole of inconsistency here in some tough games against what feels like the top competition. So that's something to maybe note for Andrew Phillips. Renardo Green is still here. An option, of course. I really like Dwayne Carter at defensive tackle from Duke. Yeah, those are some guys that are worth checking out. But truthfully, I think my pick here would be Dadrian Taylor Demerson. Maybe he's a little bit smaller. He's like 5'10", 189. I don't know if that's something that's going to be a turnoff potentially for Green Bay. Maybe it could be where maybe Bo Braid makes more sense. But obviously there's still a need at safety, and there's going to have to be some commitment there by the end of this mock draft. So, all right, we took Wright. Peter wants linebacker. So Gray is still there. Adam, and Gray is going to be there at 126, and he is often, and I've often got Gray at 168, believe it or not. So we can wait for Cedric Gray. We can. He will be available at 126 if that's the direction we'd like to go. Mitch, I'm with you. I think Carter would be an excellent selection here. I think it would be honestly one of the best value picks of this box so far, truthfully. But I understand if we don't want to go that direction and we want to address safety, that's fine by me. Um, Mark doesn't seem like he wants to wait anymore. Yeah, I know. He's in the 160s, so I understand. I understand what you're saying, Mitch. I understand that. Why would you want defense from the Big 12? I think you're getting a pretty good player here on the back end of a defense. I truly think you're getting a good player here. I really do. Um, Forced incompletion rate's really impressive. He doesn't miss a lot of tackles like that. For safeties, that's a pretty good missed tackle rate. Um, and he's got a lot of experience on the back end. 485, 507 snaps the year before. He's got some experience in the slot as well. Like I think we could go that direction. But if we want to wait at safety, I think there are two names that could complement each other well, and we could go Carter. Brian, we got to tell him about the Kansas game too. But I think you know could go that direction. I'm definitely down with going Carter. Mitch and Brian seem like they want to go Carter. I'm down with doing that. Yeah, I think Vaki is just somebody that they really like because of the potential, not really what he has done for full seasons to this point, truthfully. Um, but yeah, I am so down doing this right here. Going to Wayne Carter at the interior defensive line because it's going to give us. There's a lot, and I already mentioned this. There's a lot of linebackers on day 3 that I think really talented. Um, even relative to guys that are going in the second or third round, like I think that talent gap is not that big, and I think you're getting more value there for linebacker. So if Chat's down for this, I'm down for this. I think Carter will be an excellent selection. I'm not, but we didn't really address it. We didn't really address it early, unfortunately, and that kind of put us behind the 8 ball a little bit. I wish Kinchins were still available, um, but I think truthfully as well, WM like linebacker. To me, I think their safety's got some options that are further down that I think could really complement each other well. Like I think they're truthfully, I think they're way undervaluing Oladapo. Way undervaluing Oladapo. I think they're undervaluing Kenny Logan personally from Kansas as potentially a guy who can play in the back end. This guy's your current favorite. I know the grades aren't good. This guy's your current favorite in the 40-yard dash, by the way. But I think Mustafa, Bo Braid, I think there are other players. All right. Everybody seems to be on board with going Dwayne Carter here, and I'm in. Let's do it. Let's roll. All right. Dwayne Carter, the pick there. Let's keep it going. Maybe want to get one more offensive lineman. And there you go. There's a couple guys. But yeah, I think the defensive line with Carter and Darius Robinson on it is sick. That would be incredible. Uh, I like the Renardo Green shout. I did bring him up. Um, so yeah, I did bring him up as a potential there. Yeah, there hasn't been a lot of safeties that Gutey has drafted. He has definitely preferred free agents, and maybe he does the same thing, right? I could be unhappy with how safety goes, but Gutey hasn't done a whole lot, like you said, at the position. So, all right, now we get interesting here. It's day 3. We're gonna go rapid fire here. See if we can. Man, there's a lot of names. Obviously, Christian Jones at the top. There's tackle experience for you, especially on the right side. At least doing well in pass protection. The zone grade from PFF says that's really good. Um, Played pretty well against the best teams on the schedule, at least defensively. So there's that option. I'm not a fan of going running back again this early. Isaiah Adams has some tackle guard experience as well. Played better in 2022. Obviously, had the full tilt of snaps on the left side. Played a lot of right tackle last year. I don't think he did a nice job adjusting, which some guys don't. Obviously, we're not going to do this, but Mason Smith's loaded with a lot of talent per se. Trey Benson's still available. That's fun. Cole Bishop could be the box safety if we wanted to do that. Ben Sinnott, guy I really like at tight end. Mitch did mention Kalen King. It's been a tough time for King, but I think he'll test pretty well. Should we make Peter Stone's? We can make Peter Stone's day right here. Go Malik Mustafa. He's done some good things. He's done some good things as the box safety. Has he played nickel at all? He has. He's got 320 snaps. 321 snaps. So, Janelle, I think that's fair. Just needs to spend that 6-8 mil, get an okay vet safety. That could be the way to go. I know Mark says tackle. I know Mitch said Caleb King. Here's Joy says Halfley made it seem like it's going to be important. Tim emphasizing safety though. Yeah, he definitely could go for Newman or Bullock. That's very possible. Bishop has T-Rex arms. There you go. Bishop looked good in single high looks. Really. Hi, Antonio. How are you doing? Could see Bishop coming down a blitz. I think he's going to play in the box most likely. Yeah, there you go. Mark and Mitch seem to be on board with Mustafa. I don't know if Peter's still flipping back and forth between Clayton Stream and this one, but I think Peter would be overjoyed if we went this direction. I think this is I do think this becomes your box safety and your slot player. Peter is here. Should we do it? I'm fine with doing that. I have no problem with it. I just want to take a look at offensive line really quick. Okay, I think there's an option for us later. All right, let's do it, guys. Want to do Mustafa? Let's do it. It does seem early, but I think it's to the point where on day 3, Mark, I think you got to start forcing the issue a little bit more. Keaton is still there. That's true. That is true. He is still available. But it seems like everybody wants to go Mustafa. And I think the one thing I will say is if you want this guy, might have to take Cedric Gray right here. He sometimes gets to 168 because he's the 168th player on the board, but he doesn't always get there. And so if we want Cedric Gray, it's probably going to have to be time. So you're going to have to kind of choose there. If you want Gray, probably going to have to take him. If you want Mustafa, you're probably going to have to take him. Oladapo, we do not have to take yet because Oladapo will be available. Yeah, now the decision becomes a little bit tougher. Well, I take a peek at all the interior offensive line guys really fast. I know Cooper Beebe's still here. Insanity that he's still available. I don't think we're going to do that. Just because I think there are other things to focus on at the moment. Truthfully, I think it comes down to you want someone like Christian Jones. You want someone who can maybe play left tackle, left guard, and Isaiah Adams, or we force the issue at safety with Mustafa, or you get Cedric Gray. Let's give it 15 seconds, and then we're gonna keep moving. I will let the Mustafa voters revote because I know that we forgot to mention Gray early in that. So we don't have to take. I know Brian brought up Oladapo. We do not have to take Oladapo at this point, Brian, because he is like 200 and 50th. So we're not going. We don't need to do it. Mustafa's the one where you're going to have to see what happens. Okay. All right. Even okay. I think we've made the call here because even Peter's like, let's go Gray over Mustafa, which is not something he says very often. So it seems like 3 to Gray, 2 to Mustafa, and then Brian wants Oladapo, which I totally understand. All right, let's get Gray. We'll grab Cedric Gray right here. All right. I thought I saw him go. Oh, he did go. He did go. It's unfortunate. But so we haven't drafted a safety yet. This is tough. It's a tough situation we've put ourselves in a little bit. If Jalen Simpson were like any bigger, I think it makes perfect sense to draft him. Now we're kind of just hoping at this point. Could go with the fella from Air Force. Good to see you, Mark. Hopefully we'll see you this week for the combine reaction shows. So yeah, we could have maybe moved up, Peter. That's my bad. Probably should have brought that up as a possibility. Yeah. Peter, you're gonna be dancing for joy when they actually pick Mustafa in the draft, and you've been saying it this long. So we're gonna be giving you your props. Mitch wants Lauby. Not opposed to that. Yeah, Trey Taylor could be that. That could be the direction if we want to do it. I forget if Trey Taylor's available. Usually at 203. We could try to put the finishing touches at offensive line. Oh yes, I will if that happens. I wouldn't blame you at all. All right, let's try to run through this quick here to kind of finish this out. I think if you want to get another offensive lineman, I think you go Rosengarten here at tackle from Washington. Really good pass blocker, and that's really sometimes all it takes for Green Bay, right? So I think if you want that offensive lineman, you take him now. And then we kind of continue to fill in linebacker and safety once we get into 6th, 7th round here. Peter says Sundell. So my question with Sundell is, do we want? So the question here with him is 2023 best season was left tackle, so we could go that direction. He obviously has experience at center, and he graded out fine there too. I'm fine with that as well. Yeah, we definitely got to get safety. I think we can get 2 of them. Once we get to the last 4 picks of the draft, we can get 2 of those guys. Trey Taylor would probably be the one to potentially have to take if you want him now. I like Sundell. I think that's a very nice selection here for, to kind of round out the offensive line. Guy with center and tackle experience. Javon Foster, I think he's gone. Yeah, Foster is unfortunately not available. So I think we're down to a few things. You take Sundell or you take Rosengarten here, or you grab Trey Taylor, who's I think way down the list. Him and Oladapo could be the 2 safeties, and we might be able to wait. So give it a few seconds here, but I think I'm leaning Sundell because I think we can get Taylor and Oladapo down the stretch, and or Kenny Logan. So Peter says Sundell. Mitch said Sundell. I say we do it. Let's keep it rolling here, so we're not here for 2 more hours. Let's go Sundell. Let's complete the offensive line rebuild and let safety abound. Let's see what we can do. Rosengarten. Okay. There were some safeties that went, but I think Trey Taylor, I'm pretty sure he's available if we want to go that direction. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, a lot of people with the tackle. We'll do Kenny Logan. Did hear about MVS, WM, yeah, that he got cut by the Chiefs. I don't think it was super surprising. He was due a lot of money. Do a lot of money. All right. Well, now we're paying attention to safety, folks. And I think to me, I think we got to get, yeah, we could maybe. I know there's people like Dominique Hampton, but I think you gotta end up with two of the three from Taylor from Air Force, Logan from Kansas, and Oladapo from Oregon State. Yeah, Chris, we've been mock drafting. We've been mock drafting. We have been mock drafting. Yeah, 10, 12 million a year. Yeah, I just it made sense for them. They're trying to pay their two studs on defense. So Hopper is still there. Where said that? Mitch said that. That's good. That's true. Could go that route. Could go that route. There's 4 picks left, and I imagine it's going to be safety, linebacker, and running back. That'll be the selections. So I think he maybe has some right as a field stretcher, but you know, Green Bay is clearly set, so that's good news. Yeah, they were trying to, Chris. They were trying to moneyball their receiver room clearly without Tyreek, and it just kind of didn't work. Yeah, WM. It's clear that Gutey and company have really reversed course with their wide receiver evaluations, which is good news. All right, so we think we go Trey Taylor. Chad Inc. How's it going? Says I've been hearing a lot about the guy from Air Force. Trey Taylor could be a big week for him. Janelle did mention that could be a big testing week. So yeah, that's a good point on MVS from Ayers Joy. Belongs on a team with 2 really dependable receiving options, so you can put up with his drops. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, let's we're going to be looking at safety, linebacker, and running back. So let's just put them all on the board, shall we? Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let's put them all on the board. All right, so we got running back, safety, and linebacker all there. Frank Gore Jr. is currently the best. But I do think Jalen Ford is available at linebacker. There's another one that's really good this late. But I do think we got to kind of force the issue here a little bit more at safety than at linebacker. But we got 4 picks. I think we I think we make the Taylor pick, and we'll see what happens after that. Let's make the Taylor pick. Let's see what happens. Okay, Hopper did come off the board. Yeah, Isaiah Davis. Isaiah Davis could be a good one at running back, one of the last few picks that we'll make. So we got one of the safeties. We took Trey Taylor. I'm fine with this. A lot of slot reps. Yeah, I'm not mad at this. At Omar Brown here from Nebraska. But Keaton Oladapo, good player here. Good player. Oh, it was Sternberger, WM. Corner is another option. Yeah, haven't gone corner. I don't know what's left at corner. Not a ton. Not a ton. Not a ton at corner. I think the options here are Jalen Ford and Oladapo. But I do think you can wait on Oladapo. So yeah, I think we could have gone corner, Peter. We just didn't find a whole lot to like there. So I think it's safety. I think you could go Omar Brown if you want. But if you want to double up at linebacker, I think you take Jalen Ford here. Let's do that. Let's take Jalen Ford. And let's see what happens for these last 2. I imagine we're going to go safety and running back with them. So here we go. Make the Jalen Ford selection. Oh boy. Okay. Okay, great news. I know we didn't take the QB. We might have to do that now. So I know someone might mention that. Um, yeah, Traven Wallace would have been another one. Moss Allen and Nathaniel Watson still available. So I think they're going to end up signing one. Truthfully, I just don't. Between Savage, and then you have McKinney, right? Like there's a lot to do there. I would take Watson, Peter, but we just took Jalen Ford. We've got Cedric Gray, so we've got 2 linebackers in tow already. Yeah, no tight end. Could have gone tight end. I think Ben Sims, you could still like what Ben Sims has to offer as well. So Evan Anderson would be an interesting one if we hadn't already Tiago gone defensive line with Dwayne Carter. So yeah, I think you got to go safety here. There are a lot of high end guys. I just wonder how much they're going to pay. I think McKinney might be their ceiling in terms of what they're paying. If they pay Antoine Winfield, that would be wild. It's just kicker. That's not a bad idea. Truthfully, I think we get the other safety here, or you grab a second running back. There's a couple running backs left. Carson Steele would be one of them. All right. I know we want to go kicker and long snapper. I understand. PFF doesn't even have long snappers on here to pick, unfortunately. That's tough. It's tough. Could go Carter Bradley at QB. Could make that QB swing that we've talked about, but let's take Oladapo for Brian's sake. Let's take Oladapo. I'm going to make the 2 picks here. Let's go Oladapo. And then we'll take yeah, I think we're going to have to go Carson Steele from UCLA at running back. So let's finish it there. Just so we have a finished product here. So yeah, I'm sure that the simulator isn't going to love all these, which is fine. It is what it is. Simulator. We could have done to his brother. We could have gone QB, but I think this works. I know QB is probably going to be in the cards, but I think it's good to look at okay, this is something that's entirely possible. It's a lot of defense. I know that's going to be kind of the main criticism of the mock here, but I do think what you're getting out of this mock draft is enough of a secondary boost with Rakestraw, with Trey Taylor, with Oladapo. So the reason that Gray is an F, unfortunately, is because he's ranked 168th on PFF's board, and we took him 126 at a position they don't deem very valuable. So that's the only reason it's an F. Otherwise, I'm not going to be mad at it. But so yeah, you get Rakestraw, you get Taylor, you get Oladapo for the secondary. Linebackers getting a huge boost with Ford and Gray. That's a big time boost for that duo. Offensive line gets a nice boost with Haynes, who can play guard and potentially center as well. The Senior Bowl worked him out there. And you get Sundell, who has played left tackle and center, which is kind of wild. The defensive line with Robinson and Carter is a giant boost as well. That's a lot of talent you're injecting there. And then running back gets Wright and Carson Steele, which I think is a nice little duo to add behind Aaron Jones. It's not shocking to see a lot of B pluses on day 3. That's Gutey style, right? So I think it's pretty good overall. Yeah, Peter, I don't hate this ranking from the 33rd team. I don't hate that at all. Cedric Gray, to me, I don't know why he's being valued this way by PFF. Very strange one. I think he's going to be, as long as the testing goes very well. Yeah, it's a and not to say PFF is always wrong, right? I just feel like the value on Gray is interesting. Same with Cooper Beebe. Yeah, Tyquan Thornton is the guy you're thinking of there. WM. Yeah, PFF Thornton. Tyquan Thornton went second. Yeah. If the Pats take a receiver, usually not a good idea. Not good. So yeah, they did take him in the second round. That was wild. So yeah, there's your mock. Appreciate all the help with that. If you got any last minute questions, drop them in there. But otherwise, enjoy Combine Week because it's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're gonna see a lot. I think it's going to thin the board a little bit for Green Bay, which is always good. We get to uh, kind of not widen, but really focus a little bit further into like, all right, these are the guys they're gonna like versus guys who didn't test as well. I know they're not completely RAS. That's not their system, but they have something similar. Brian has talked about that before. Um, yeah, I mean that's what we'll see. We'll see the board shrink a little bit in terms of what Green Bay is going to look for. But there you go. Last kind of pre-combine mock draft for the Packers. Free agency and the combine are obviously going to even thin the board even more, which is fun. So we'll be able to kind of really, really get into it towards the middle and end of March, which is very exciting. But like I said before, uh, here after every combine day, we should have some sort of live show, even if it's a short one, just talking about a few guys. Maybe there'll be a guest or two. We'll see. I'll reach out if anybody is interested in that, and we'll kind of maybe have some nice banter about that. But yeah, enjoy your week. Hopefully there'll be a few more prospect film rooms on the channel in the coming days. So get excited for that. There's one tomorrow on a top corner in the draft. I'm sure you can probably figure out who it is because Wiggins is already on the channel. So, but yeah, there'll be a few out there, and then yeah, we'll get into some Packer stuff as well, some other NFL film rooms. It's a little bit harder because I don't have the usual setup at the moment. So it's harder to record videos this way, but we're gonna do our best for you guys. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. I know it wasn't the usual night, but as we said, it's a special week, Combine Week, so it should be a lot of fun though. Justin Iboigbe, I think an interesting 5/3 tech. He might be in that Darius Robinson kind of realm as well in terms of where he plays. I think he plays good leverage. I think he plays with really good hand placement and power. So yeah, I like him. I like him a decent bit. Seems like a nice mid rounder. So yeah, Mark is big on Robinson. Have a great night, Mark. Have a good night, Peter. Thank you all for tuning in. I know there's a lot of you tonight, and the chat's been really popping off. We had the usuals in here, of course. Mitch was in here. Chris popped in for a little bit. Mentioned Peter. Mentioned Ayers Joy. Obviously Brian, one of the best out there. We had some new faces that maybe just weren't used to commenting as much. I know Mark Sawyer, Mark Zambito were here tonight. Janelle, it was good to hear from a lot of you guys. Antonio, I'm sure I'm going to miss a lot of names trying to scroll back through, but I know Smitty was in here at the beginning. That was fun. Jarrell was here too. Adam, Tiago, Lee. It was great to see all of you, and hopefully we'll see all of you for the shows throughout this week, and of course for the shows leading up to the draft, and maybe the draft show itself, which we will have here on the channel as we always do. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and yeah, let's crush. It's going to be a great combine week.